So I'm going to start with a reading from Oren Lyons, who is from the Wolf clan of the Onondaga Nation. And this is what he said when he addressed the United Nations in 1977. Power is not manifest in human being. True power is in the Creator. If we continue to destroy the source of our lives, then our children will suffer. I must warn you that the Creator made us all equal with one another. And not only human beings, but all life is equal. The equality of our life is what you must understand, and the principles by which you must continue on behalf of the future of this world. Economics and technology may assist you, but they'll also destroy you if you don't use the principles of equality. Profit and loss mean nothing to future generations. I do not see a delegation for the four-footed. I see no seat for the eagles. We forget and we consider ourselves superior, but we are, after all, a mere part of creation. We must continue to understand where we are. We stand between the mountain and the ant, somewhere and there only, as part and parcel of the creation. It is our responsibility, since we've been given the minds to take care of things, we must take that responsibility. The elements and the animals and the birds, they live in a state of grace. They are absolute. They can do no wrong. It is only we, the two-leggeds, that can do wrong. And when we do wrong to our brothers, to our own brothers, we do the worst in the eyes of the Creator. So Heather and I have just come back from Cape Cod and driving up and down the coast there. And by the way, it's interesting, Cape Cod, from Hyannisport up to Provincetown is the same distance as from Glenwood to Aspen, which is interesting, 56 minutes all the way. But it gave me plenty of time to reflect on the genuine, as Heather was saying, as we were driving up and down. And you know, as I was driving up and down, the feeling that came to me was a feeling of sadness. We had a chance to see the Kennedy compound in Hyannisport and the JFK Museum. And the thing that struck me is that public life has become so much more cruel. That's not to say that the past was any easier than where we live now. There was the Vietnam War, there was segregation, and there was just as much poverty as there is today. But the level of aspiration in those earlier times seemed much higher to me. I'm sad that we seem to have lost that aspiration. There was a sense that when we looked up to the heavens, we aspired to go there, whether that be to the moon or to some more elevated way of treating people. In that speech that Oren Lyons made, he points out that economics and technology may assist you, but they'll destroy you if you don't use the principles of equality. The profit and loss mean nothing to future generations. It seems that what those in power are doing at the moment is preparing themselves for the most comfortable demise that they can experience during the death of humanity. They can organize the most comfortable demise for themselves and their families. Not thinking of that equality, they prepare the ground around them to be as nice and comfortable as possible. It's almost like they were building an elaborate grave without realizing that this is what they were doing. the best silk to line the coffin made of the best wood, only the best earth to be laid around it, with sides of the grave cut to perfection, and a headstone that will overshadow all the other headstones in the graveyard. I came across something this week, I don't know if you've come across it, of billionaires buying up and creating not homesteads, but doomsteads. Now, doomsteads are those things you build in the ground in case there is some disaster. And nowadays, no billionaire is without their doomstead that has been built into the ground, a disaster-proof in their lives in advance of what they already sense is a collapse of industrialized civilization. This self-centered narcissism doesn't really recognize the equality of all humanity, of all creatures, of all species, of the very earth that we stand on. They don't recognize that if you don't see that, it can only mean death. And it's this short-sighted approach that we're buying into at the moment. Investing in fossil fuels when all the science tells us that it's the equivalent of someone smoking cigarettes and ignoring the risks of lung cancer. Creating poverty, war, and refugees, and then not recognizing that immigration is a consequence of these actions. Not allowing others the benefits of healthcare and family support, while all the time allowing financial inequality to get worse. We're digging our own graves and the grave of our civilization, while we call it the patriotic work, and we pretend that it's giving us a future, when in fact it's a fabricated reality based on nothing but selfishness. Going back to that speech, we forget and we consider ourselves superior, but we are, after all, a mere part of creation. We must continue to understand where we are. We stand between the mountain and the ant, somewhere and there only as a part and parcel of creation. Ori Lyons spoke that 48 years ago, and we're still not hearing it. My sadness is because it doesn't seem that there's an appetite for genuinely building for a future based on an understanding of how the future needs to be constructed given the circumstances that we find ourselves in. Bullying and threats are no way to create cooperation. The cooperation that we're going to need if we're going to find our way to the future. What will be needed is an appetite to work together across countries, across religions, and across races. A recognition of need as opposed to want. A willingness to lift up the oppressed rather than move them out of sight. A recognition that this will involve the sharing of hardships as well as the sharing of profits. And that, as Oren said, when we do wrong to our brothers, to our own brothers, we do the worst in the eyes of our Creator. I put this thing on our seats today, that this forum that we're organizing is about recognizing that what we need to do is come together and embody that aspect of consciousness that unites for the good of the whole rather than divides for the good of some. It is a recognition of the equality that Oren Lyons spoke of and an attempt to find a way to bring into our human reality an expression of interconnectedness that some of us have experienced and which is at the heart of all the great religious traditions. All the great religious traditions have that interconnectedness at the heart of it. Our wisdom traditions, as we call them, aspire to love our enemies, to treat others as we would want to be treated ourselves, to have love as the foundation of all actions, and to recognize the Creator made us in such a way that this is what was intended. These traditions teach us this. And for years, the rhetoric of world leaders in what we call civilized countries has tried to echo this wisdom. But not so much today. We need to be speaking out and saying that when we put ourselves forward as being worthy of coming first, we're actually breaking the equality upon which the reality is founded on. The equality of our life is what we must understand and the principles by which we must continue on behalf of the future of this world. And I think that's what we must stand up for. That's what we must work out between ourselves and agree a way forward. We have to reintroduce this language into the conversation and not be drowned out by those crying, me, 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 or mine, mine, mine. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? That clock is growing precariously close to the striking hour of midnight, when it'll be too late. So, what can we do to alter this course? It seems that the ship is so huge and it takes so long to slow down and turn round. Well, I think the first thing we can do is we can recognize that this is not academic. It's not about left or right. It's not about a nice to have. It's not about a good idea. There is a wall that we're moving towards at speed, and we will hit it if we don't alter course. Whether or not we're distracted by this or that distraction that we're spoon-fed that asks us to look the other way. It's real. And we can see the reality all around us, in the weather, across our borders, in the rage of our neighbors, in our willingness to turn away from the endless human catastrophes that we're confronted with. Our way has to be to offer our hands to those who are willing to take it and try to help to make a change. And this change happens one person at a time. Just as the world's hearts at the moment are breaking one person at a time within those human catastrophes. I think now is not the time to sit back and wait for somebody else to sort it out, because it seems to me it's quite obvious that that's not going to happen. Whatever grown-ups there were have left the room. And those in charge are quite obviously over their heads. So each of us has to start from where we are. We all have to start from where we are. And it doesn't have to be much. We just have to join in, help. We're doing this forum. We've got people who are coming to Aspen that might need a bed for the night so they can come and be a part of that forum. Could you offer a bed? We've got a couple of speakers who need beds. Could you offer a bed for the night? Could you tell your friends about it? Communicate to others. Forward the emails that you're getting. Give money. Offer to help. We're going to need helpers on that Saturday and Sunday. This is, we're getting people together. We've got about 300 people so far who have registered for this forum. But overall, be kind. Be forgiving to those around you when we make mistakes. Encourage, get involved. And take some responsibility for a different outcome. Because as far as I can see, the cavalry's not coming this time. So, let's see what we can do. And one of the people on the forum, Tim Shriver, I was talking to him about, what we were going to do at the forum right at the beginning when we were planning. And I didn't really, have a clue. I said, where do we go from here? You see, we can't just do that. You did that last time. You've got to say something. He said, what's important for you? And I said, well, what's important for me is, that we create some sort of, we form a unity of consciousness where people are willing to work together, to unite, to have things come back. He said, well, that's what you should be going for. I said, fine, okay. But each of us, as Heather was saying, when you touch that genuine, each of us has got that thing that we want to have happen. For me, it's that, it's typical. It's my job, unity of consciousness. That's what I'm about. But each of you will have something that you want to have happen. What do you want to see happen when you touch your genuine? And are you willing to put yourself out there for it? Are you willing to make it happen? Because, it's worth a try. It is worth putting yourself out there to do that. Because I can't see anybody else who's doing that. I mean, people are doing it in the same way that we're talking about it now. But when you look out there, it's going to take all of us that are wanting to make a difference to do that. And in a moment, I've got something to read to you that describes how that difference might look. But anyone like to say anything? Yes, Louisa, thank you.
I love the optimism of that book.
Yeah.
Maybe 2150, not 2050.
Yeah, yes.
And it really means we all have to work together, which we're going to do our little drop in the bucket, but maybe everybody will do the drops, and I'm optimistic.
Yes.
That we can change things.
Louisa, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's good to have that out there, that sense of it, rather than always be about doom. Anybody else like to say anything? Yes, John, and then Mimi.
Mimi first.
Well, I also have read that book, and one of the things that stood out for me is at the end they were saying that we as a country have come together when there's crisis, when there's chaos, and our government has worked together to build and to invent and to research, and that's their answer, and I think that we can do it.
Thank you, Mimi. I really appreciate that from you. Great. John.
I'm John Bachram. Just met some of you. I want to come from a place of love. That's what I feel at this church. So I truly believe that there's billions and billions of people and humans that live on the planet that operate from love. But my personal challenge is to direct love, for me, to direct love for meaningful, productive, futuristic, sustainable processes that help the whole world. And Nicholas, thank you for the visit to 2050.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Yes. Diane.
Okay, I have two quick things, but firstly, John, on that, I too believe we come from a place of love, and so we need to start every day from a place of love. So it's taking that time every single day for us to be centered, to do our practice, and to reach out to the world and make a difference every single day. So, and that's why we're all here. I mean, that's why we come to the chapel. So I totally believe in what you're saying, Nicholas, so thank you. And then on a second note, just an announcement. This coming weekend is the Aspen Indigenous Foundation. They put on the powwow up at the high school. It'll be Saturday and Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. So if any of you are here, we thoroughly invite you to come and support the Indigenous people that come. There's at least 12 different tribes coming, and it's somewhat of a competition. It's a way these people have figured out how to make some money because they win money for the competitions that they're in. It's drumming and dancing competitions. It's up at Aspen High School. You park at the middle school, and you can make a donation. I think it's just $10 at the door. There's a lot of things that are made there that people can purchase, but it's a way to support people who travel all over the West, and really we're the first people here. So.
And what's a good? It's Saturday and Sunday, and
it's 12 to 5.
12 to 5. And what time is a recommended time? What you've been there before?
What I really recommend on both of those days is arriving before 1 o'clock. They do a beautiful procession.
Oh, great.
For instance, on Saturday at 1 o'clock, where all the performers and families and children, all dressed in their ceremonial garb, come in, and then they start all the different competitions. So it could be drumming, you could be there for an hour or listening to drumming, or it could be some of the dance competitions, and they do different age groups too. But it's really a beautiful, and you can just drop in and see part of it. Sometimes you arrive and you have no idea what's going on, but they do different sections, and they do announce some of it. On Saturday, they take a break at 5 to 6, and then they do a final presentation. But both days, I know it's 12 to 5.
And just say, Diane gave me the book, Sherry Mitchell's book, about Native American intelligence and wisdom. And Sherry is coming to Aspen. She's going to be staying here. And she's going to be a part of the forum live here at the chapel. So we're going to have her representing that aspect.
Right after that weekend. So
Right after that weekend. So thank you for that. That's great. Good, thank you. Anybody else like to say anything? Emma.
I just wanted to thank y'all for being so welcoming. I'm super happy to be here. But I just want to bring some hope into saying that as I study ecosystems in college right now, and it's so cool, a lot of these systems that seem so far in the future are already here. I mean, we have all this science already here. We have all these processes, and it's really up to the people now. And so I love to see this love and hope, because that's what we have to give. Let's bring it forward.
I mean, that's so encouraging. I really appreciate someone who knows what's going on to actually come and say this is already happening. It's fantastic, Emma. So thank you so much for that.